But we also have to look at other areas that affect education and municipalities. And when the governor did those huge tax cuts, the bulk of them went into effect outside the budget cycle. And when he submitted that, the following budget, because of the self-induced deficit, what he did was, in his proposed budget, was eliminated municipal revenue sharing, shifted the cost of unfunded liability back onto municipalities, and that's just wrong.
You know, Mike, I agree with you. We've got to reach 55% state funding for public education. And we've got to reverse the trend on municipal revenue sharing. Doing those two things is going to cost almost $300 million. The difference between you and me is I've figured out how to pay for it and you haven't.
Well, I just need to say this. If the Maine people would just take the opposite of what you just heard from these two opponents, you would be close to the truth. Revenue sharing is very simply a code for we don't want to work with our neighbors.
I support expanding the access under the Affordable Care Act for the 70,000 Mainers who were denied that access because this governor's vetoed that bipartisan bill that was put together not once but 5 times.
When we do extend universal access to health care, then we better do it right. We'd better make sure that we do it with Maine values. We'd better make sure that the incentives are running in the right direction, that we're paying for performance and outcomes and not for procedures.
Mr. Cutler, Mr. Michaud will tell you, we got to take the money day one because it's free money. Folks, we have a letter from the federal government that says there's a small class of people that qualify for the exemption. Childless adults, about 20,000 people. The other 90,000 people qualify for regular Medicaid, and they're on regular Medicaid. All we got to do is put the money up.
I believe that if a person's working full-time, they shouldn't be living in poverty. And I do support increasing the minimum wage. Not only is that the right thing to do, but if you look at what happened earlier this year, 13 states actually have raised the minimum wage, and they've seen a faster growth than other states who have not raised it, like the state of Maine, because the governor vetoed the bill.
I believe that if the country goes with a minimum wage, we would be right behind them. I think going at it alone is going to do what happened the last 40 years. Going to make us an outlier. It's going to make us non-competitive with the rest of the country.
There's one person holding us back, and that is Governor LePage and his efforts. He has no plan. He never had a plan on how to move forward.
You see all these ads. The governor is an embarrassment. He does this, he does this, he said this, he said that. You know, so I studied him last night. Guess what? Not one of those things I said in the last 2 years. It was always said in the first 2 years. So even a Frenchman can be taught to cool down. I've reduced taxes. We're reforming welfare because I believe that money doesn't solve poverty. Education does.
We're 1,300,000 people in this state. We cannot afford any more Old Towns. We can't afford any more Millinockets. We can't afford any more Bucksports. We have got to realize together that we are in a transition. It's going to be painful, but it's going to be full of opportunity.
I am the 3rd highest rated governor for fiscal management in the 50 states. And yet the guys ahead of me have Republican houses, Republican senates. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor LePage. Congressman Michaud, your closing, please.
Thank you very much. As I said earlier, I'm the only candidate on this stage that has a proven track record of being able to work across the aisle to get things done. So I ask for your vote this November 4th. Thank you very much.
Congressman, thank you.
Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program. I want to thank you so much for being here, and I hope you come back on November 5th with one of these 3 guys.
Thanks, buddy. So much. Well done, my friend.